Okay, before we take a look at the time-lapse video of actually putting all this together, I just wanted to give you a quick view of what the final results are going to look like. I also wanted to kind of explain to you quickly about how you need to take all your different separate pieces and then combine them together to form your one-piece model that you're going to have at the very end. And at the end of the video, I'm going to show you how we can actually take this layout that you see here and kick this out as an image map that we can actually pull inside of Photoshop, and then just how we can start using this to our advantage to start roughing out some flat colors for our object. So let's go ahead and take a look and get started. I think I've shown you everything that you could possibly need to get this thing in order. I just wanted to show you the final layout of everything and how everything has to be put onto this 0 to 1 space on the page, and how I kind of took those pieces and fit it together like that. The other part of the process that was going on was after all the UVs were set up for this, you can see that this has been merged down into a one-piece model at that point. So basically what I did was took certain sections, like we had an instance, negative instance for maybe a left side and a right side, and I took those two objects, selected them, went to mesh combine, and then deleted the history on those. And then whenever I combine maybe say like the boots together with the pants, after I combine those things together, deleted history, then we need to sew up all the different points within the center. And it's possible to just drag a marquee. Let me just find something that you can see here for the center. If we hit F9, we can drag a marquee that pretty much goes right down the center of any objects that have been merged together, and then just shift right click, merge vertices, and use that option box with a very low threshold. And that should get everything to get together. The other thing I did was, we've already gone over this in other videos, but let's take a look at this display polygons, custom polygon display. And we turn on the border edges. So anytime if there was any kind of seam that needed to be sewn up, it's going to be really easy for you to tell that with that border edge visible. So again, if I took all these pieces that we had for our model and just did the combine, it was causing Maya to crash quite a bit. So I was being a bit meticulous about going through and combining pieces, merging all the verts. If there was anything in the center piece, like this chest piece, after it was combined together, I needed to double click on this edge that runs down the center, and then I was softening the edge on that piece for that. And that was getting everything together, just worked my way through the model and then got everything combined. I also had areas where, like say this belt, earlier in the time-lapse section that I had in one of the earlier videos, you saw that I actually went through and made sure that the verts lined up on each one of these pieces. So because of that, when I combined them together, it was possible for me to go through and just select like a vert like this, and go shift right click merge vertices to center if I had to merge just one point at a time. If they sat directly on top of one another, it was real easy to just do that same process that we do for the center. You just drag a marquee around all the verts like that, then shift right click merge vertices with this threshold. And again, they have to be sitting directly on top of one another for them to sew up correctly. So now, at the end of that whole process of combining everything together, we just have one model at that point. It still looks like all of our different pieces, but everything's been merged together. We took all their verts, merged those vertices together as well. And you can see here's the final layout of everything. And it should be pretty apparent what's going on here. We've got the head right here, and I took I'm going to paint this scar in this area. I talked to you about how we could do on this side these faces and how they'll be split off, and I can paint something different in this area, so I'll not have a scar on this side. So I'll have a little bit of a difference on the different sides of the face that way. We've got the eyeball on here, so these both share the same space and they're overlapping, so if I paint an eyeball on this one, it's going to show up on the other side as well. But this is nice and large to give any kind of detail that I might want in the eye, and I think that's pretty important for the eye to have enough space for that. You can see we've got our sleeves right here, they're overlapping. We've got our chest right here, they're overlapping as well. and we have these pieces here that's for this little emblem thing here. These actually sit right on top of each other, these two little pieces. So if I select those, you can see these highlight here. This is the center part here, right here. This gives us the loincloth, and this is actually this part with the hook right in through here. Here's our hand flayed out. This part right here is our belt, and this part here is our belt that goes around the chest. And here's our shoe, and here is one side of the pants, and they're you've got overlapping UVs for that part. I'm sharing overlapping UVs for the shoulder pieces, and here is our backpack right here, like that. Okay, so one last thing that I think is pretty important for you to get started on the painting process. We're going to look at painting textures inside a Mudbox. That's a possibility. But what if you just wanted to get started in Photoshop? You would probably want to save this layout in some kind of way to get yourself that information and pull it into Photoshop. So what you would do for that, you can just go Polygons and go to UV Snapshot. You could give it a size. The final texture size is going to be 512 by 512. I want to paint this thing twice the resolution of what the final output's going to be, so I'm going to do 1024 by 1024 like this, and we'll just leave these values set here, and then I'm going to go ahead and browse to the current project that we have. And so I'm just going to click the workspace root for this. I'll go to Tools and Resources, and we'll go to Photoshop, and I'll just kick this out as Pirate Fish, and I'll call this UVs like this. Hit Save, and I'll hit OK like that. Let's hop on over to Photoshop and take a look real quick. So let's go ahead and open this thing up. I'm going to go and click out and navigate to where that sits in Tools and Resources, Photoshop, and then Pirate Fish UVs. So now we've got a texture that we can start working with, and we can make a new document if you want, or we can just double click this and release this and call this UVs, something like that. Now if we make a new layer, and I'll just go ahead and fill this with a color like this, we can actually change the blending modes on this to be something like, if we do screen, you can see those wires over the top of whatever that color is. And so it's possible that you could even come in here and use the magic wand tool. So you just tap W, and you could select within this thing and then start to go and maybe fill in certain areas with just flat kind of color. So let's say like this shoulder piece was going to be, metallic or something like that. So you could just fill this with gray like this or whatever. The sleeves, let's say they're like a brownish kind of color or something like this. I'll just hit Control H to hide my selection at that point. So you can see how you could use that as a guide for yourself to start actually laying out maybe some flat colors and start getting some painting information on there. So that's how you can take your models, get them finished up, put them on a UV page, combine all your objects together to make yourself have one object that you're working with, and then even kick that UV snapshot out to Photoshop, and then give yourself some kind of base to start painting on.